Nathaivele, Raileble, Hafisule, Nasasre.
Hey Liu, hello. Once again, I greet you with brotherly love. Family sometimes has differences, making family members to fight each other, but still fight against its challenges together. Father's Day is celebrated at different days and times across the globe. In Egypt, it is on the 21st of June. Some put it on the winter or summer solstice. If we take it from solstice ideology, the peak of Father's Day this year of 2024 is around 2051 Universal Time. That is 9 minutes before 9 p.m. That is in the month of June. Yes, it varies according to meteorology. That time varies according to meteorology because they accurately or approximately estimate the time according to their own machines. The gasps are essential to some people. So gasps of seasons are plus minus 6 weeks from the solstices and equinoxes. Solstices are winter and summer, which are longest night and day respectively, but not necessarily coldest or hottest days of the year. Equinoxes are spring and autumn, and are days on which a day and a night are equal in duration. From this year's solstices, counting 5 to 6 weeks from the solstice we are at now, we have 25th of July to 1st of August 2024 for celebrating the legends or at the gasp of our solstice and equinox. Legends vary from time to time, place to place, society to society, group to group, family to family, and in any other categories of um, collective of people. In the previous video, I mentioned 4 categories of brotherhood emanating from Adam, their father. We categorize them according to south, east, north, and west, and according to air, land, water, and fire. Fire or infinite, okay? Those children were Cain, Abel, Seth, and others, because it says that Adam had many other sons and daughters. Those are greatest grandfathers of some people living today on earth, if not everyone on this planet. How we explain how they came to being, life, existence, or presence differ from philosophy to philosophy, such as evolution, creation, and transference from one planet to another or to Earth. Just like Mars program aimed for keeping mankind's seed alive by permanently exporting some volunteers to Mars, first generation on Earth might have been from certain planets such as Venus or any other planet we don't even know. Maybe it might have already been perished, as we know that some celestial bodies explode or vanish in one or another. Speculations of some scientists assume possibility of deep problems caused by the Earth millions of years to come. Whether human existence will still survive through adaptation or will perish because of any cause. There is possibility that descendants of people volunteered to be kinder slaves on Mars will live way beyond as they adapt to conditions on Mars. I said kind of slaves because they will be working there, striving for their survival. They will be mining anything vital and exporting it to Earth. In return, necessities will be provided to them through the use of technology. Technology that exports them, technology that supplies them with necessities, technology that will collect what they mined or collected on planet Mars, will be the medium through which survival is ensured in the meantime until they have fully settled and live by themselves, doing everything, because there will be some sort of scientists trying to find means and measures of survival there, maybe coming up with new things which are not even existing on planet Earth today. But considering that living things adapt and evolve to suit existing conditions, there is also a possibility that human beings will adapt and evolve into any biologically suitable beings for thenceforth situations on planet Earth. That is, as we mentioned, that scientists speculate that conditions will be harsher in coming years, in million years to come. Maybe even to different forms that will have distinguishable characteristics between those on planet Earth and Mars. Human beings may adapt to suitable being, yes, for those conditions. Hence, we may speculate that Adam was not created, but was somehow transported from one planet to planet Earth. So that is, we can speculate that Adam was not created by supernatural spiritual powers, but he and his wife or wives, and of course any other people, any other group of people, could have been transferred from certain planet through supernatural scientific machinery powers. Whether he was the only male or others lived in other parts of the world through planned program, we'll not discuss that in this video, but we will use Adam as the sole greatest grandfather, ceteris paribus, holding all other factors constant. As we dedicate this video for Superlative, Solstice, and Father's Day. This is in line with common practice where people call themselves children of their teachers, politicians, groomers, spiritual leaders, and managers, as well as many other ways of referring to people as their fathers or mothers. So those four categories have elements of being considered great as fathers while they were while they were the brotherhood themselves. History is deep. Some put it as a religion, while others consider it as a way of life. After Enosh was born from Seth, people began to pray in the name of God. Adam and Seth were like God and inherited no sin anywhere, as they were made in the likeness of God and Adam respectively, unless God was sinful. We said that Abel implies Father God. Let's not narrate everything we discussed, but show that descendants came down to descendants of Noah, who was a descendant of Seth. We know descendants passed Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob down to Jesus, but I want to mention Put or food, that is F-U-T or P-U-T or P-H-U-T, and Put was one of the sons of Ham. Ham, that was the son of Noah. Putites were descendants of Food and lived mainly in today's Egypt and Libya and spread to other parts of Africa, including Ethiopia. Ethiopia was World Trade Center then, but because people and animals flocked with huge numbers, others departed from Ethiopia to other parts of the world. Some descended down to Southern Africa in different groups as others settled in between. Yeah, you see, because the place was heavily burdened with a lot of people who settled in various places in Ethiopia from different countries. Maybe at that time they were not called countries or continents we have today. Maybe they were like villages. So they found that the place is no longer producing enough food for them and their flocks. As I selectively choose and pick some facts or contents of history for this particular message, and as I have selected carefully food for this message, that is son of Ham. I didn't want to confuse you with food that is eaten. I choose Basotho Nation down or downwards, or henceforth from, or not henceforth, from now onwards. Anyway, it means the same thing. Some people or some groups of people in the southern part of Africa met in a place which is called Mabutile today in Wetapute district, and that district is in Lesotho, and we know that Lesotho is within the country of South Africa. Those people, or those groups of people, as they met there at that place called Mabutile today, they discussed their history and learned that they were descendants of Food that migrated from Ethiopia, especially from the place called Sodom. Then they called themselves Basotho Nation. And you need to understand that They call themselves Basotho because they originated in a place called Sodo in Ethiopia. Yes, it is commonly known as a nation that called themselves Basotho because they were brownish people, and brown color or complexion in their language is Soto. So it is not commonly said that they originated in a place called Sodo in Ethiopia. And by the time those people met and discussed their origins was slightly more than 200 years ago. That is why Lesotho today, or Basotho nation today, are celebrating 300 years since the nation was created or generated or established. However, remember I said slightly more than 200 years ago because they met there, discussed, and lived together in the place which today is known as Botabote and Leribe district. Yeah. Some years later, they established their headquarters around the place today, which is called Tababisiu, because of number of reasons, including resemblance of ancient pyramid of Egypt and safety, because they saw that mountain which had that shape with the resemblance of that pyramid in Egypt. And even today, when they make heads, they use that shape of Qilwan mountain. That shape of the pyramid. However, the pyramid is not like a cone. Qilwan mountain is like a cone. So the head is like the cone. Yes. So they settled at around Tababisiu because it is not only Tababisiu they resided at. They settled in different places around Tababisiu according to their clans. Yeah. Others, Nazareth, and many other places. Okay, let me not mention them. So they settled there because of that resemblance, safety, and any other reasons. Let me not repeat the whole story so that this message will not be very long. Some clans of Basotho refer themselves as Maputing, Maputsi, Bafula, Bakwena, and many others as indirectly referencing or referring to their root from food. Those that are referred to Maputsi in their anthem mention other ancestors such as Methuselah, disguised as Mutwinsani, and Ditohotela, disguising Thoth, that was revered in Egypt. From this, we realize that history and culture are linked, shared, and history and culture are symbolic. They are integrated and dynamic. They change from time to time, from place to place. They change because information is shared from one generation to another, it changes because some pieces of information are missed as people transfer information from one to the next. It changes because some people want to come with something new. They add something they didn't have before. And that new thing is encompassed in the new culture. It changes because some people don't want to expose themselves, want to hide some components, want to hide some rituals, want to hide any other thing they don't want people to know. History and culture changes, or history and culture change because some people don't want to be associated in any ways with some rituals or practices because they learn anything from history and culture. Maybe they learn that history and culture can be modified to suit their current situations, conditions, and any other thing they want to adapt to. And maybe again, they learn that history and culture serve no purpose. Remember in one of previous videos we said that knowing history is necessary so that you may learn from the past what made people successful, what made people to make mistakes. That will help to avoid some mistakes, if not all mistakes. That helps to know that certain things are dangerous. And most of us do not eat mushrooms. Most of us do not eat anything that looks like mushrooms because, as we are told, it happened that some people, as they were collecting food, they collected that something that looked like mushroom, which was not mushroom, but something poisonous. It killed a lot of people. So they learned that this thing is dangerous. So they avoided eating that, considering anything that looks like that as the same plant. And as education came, they were taught later the difference, and they know the difference that this one is poisonous, this one is not poisonous. That is why we say history and culture are learned, are shared, dynamic, integrated, and symbolic. So we cannot entirely say Basotho nation's culture is in a specific way. If we look at how Basotho dress, we realize that it varies from place to place. It varies from society to society. It varies from district to district, and in many other ways. Yes. There are a number of factors determining that. Some places in Lesotho are very cold. Some places in Lesotho have people with less resources. Some people in Lesotho have money. Some people in Lesotho have a lot of resources. So those factors and others make Basotho Nation culture to be diverse. So culture is also diverse. So we will not say in Basotho culture men wear trousers. We know that in some countries, maybe in places like Scotland, men dress some things like dresses. In previous times, before civilization, Basotho were not dressing trousers. No, they were not wearing trousers. They didn't have them. Instead, they used animal skins to cover themselves, just like Adam had to improvise. He wore what? Leaves. So we'll not say people have to wear leaves. It is said that God provided Adam and Eve with clothing, which came from animal skins. We won't say God wants us to wear animal skins. At that time, the closest thing or nearest thing that could have been used to cover them better, and that was accessible, that was plenty, animal skin. Animal skin. Because you understand that Adam had eaten a lot of animals by that time, and maybe he had been piling those skins somewhere. So we cannot say culture binds us to wear animal skins. No, we won't say that. Yes, in some places, even in Lesotho or around Basotho cultures across Southern Africa and other clans and groups or societies in Southern Africa or any other part of the world, consider trousers as clothing for me, and they find it bad for a woman to dress trousers. But is it really the need? So some people have to adapt, and we see and realize in different places women wearing trousers too. So can we say women should never wear trousers? However, in Lesotho, there are places whereby women are kind of compelled to wear trousers, or have, in fact, are not to wear trousers, but they use dresses or some sort of blankets to cover their lower parts of their bodies. So note that we will not entirely say culture confines and compels us to wear in a certain way. Now I used wearing as one of the symbolic characteristics of culture, as one of characteristics of culture. as one way of showing who one is. However, we said culture is shared. If a person who thinks certain society is different, it doesn't mean he's not a member of the society. No, it doesn't mean so. Because people learn. As we say, culture is learned. We learn how people lived and adapt that, and also learn other new ways. Basotho, as they arrived or lived around Lesotho, they relied heavily on hunting for their food, not heavy production of food, but commercial farming was established after civilization. So understand that Basotho at that time, they didn't have any time or chance for heavy production of crops because they were faced with a lot of wars. Societies were fighting each other. Groups of people were fighting each other for survival. They could fight other groups, and if they succeed there, take their animals, those groups' animals, and wives or women, so that they will expand their group. As they were fighting, they couldn't have enough time for that. But we'll not say that is Basotho culture. We'll not say Basotho should go all over places, hunting and stealing others' animals. No, we'll not say that. Those were the conditions of that time. And those who succeeded in wars, in capturing other groups, women and animals, they were heroic. They were called heroes. Those who killed their enemies, they were called heroes. But do we necessarily need to say a hero should be it should be a person that killed a lot of people, that killed a lot of enemies? In today's practices, criminals or enemies are taken to law. They are arrested so that justice can be served, so that they can be confined somewhere, maybe to rehabilitate them, to counsel them, maybe to prohibit them from stealing other people's properties, or maybe from committing other crimes. Yes, taken to law so that justice can be served, because sometimes people conclude that some people are guilty without solid facts. Sometimes they conclude that some people are guilty to cover their own mistakes. Because in some places, some thieves, some criminals point other people and convince members of societies that a specific man or woman is a criminal, is the person that committed this specific crime. This person is the one that stole, killed, or did any other crime, just to derail the focus so that they cannot be themselves so that they themselves cannot be suspected, so that people will think a criminal has been punished, whereas in actual fact a criminal is within, a criminal is amongst them. So as we are still talking about culture, we understand that culture is shared, culture is learned, culture is dynamic, culture is symbolic. I featured some of Basotho history on the Superlative Solstice special because Basotho are celebrating in style what they call 200 years of establishment of Basotho nation. And you should understand that it is through this celebration that Basotho know who they are. South Africa is celebrating 30 years of democracy. South Africa is way civilized. Anyway, it doesn't mean it doesn't have challenges. In Africa, South Africa and some few countries are well developed, are well civilized in various ways. But that doesn't mean they do not have challenges. Look at Nigeria. Nigerians are scattering. Nigerians are scattering all over the world, looking for survival. Not because Nigeria itself is very poor. No. Nigeria is civilized. In that same manner, in Ethiopia, at that time, Ethiopia was civilized, was advanced in different ways. Ethiopia was World Trade Center where people could trade. But because there were still some challenges, some had to scatter all over the world. Not only southern part of Africa, but all over the world. They went to different places, including Asia. So from this message, we learn that in one way or the other, we are related. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We learn that we are related in one or the other, whether we are using immediate family members or remote cousins perspective. I started this message using Adam. So you see that if it is true that Adam is the greatest ancestor, we are all related. However, some people today consider family relationship as mother, father. Oh, I said mother, I said father. Okay, don't think something which I didn't say. Mother, father, brother, sister. Only those close to them as their family. Children and immediate cousins. So they don't consider extended family members as their family. But you see, you realize, you know that they are still family members. I don't want this message to be very long. I would mention a lot of things on this video, but in the best interest of the length of this video, let me stop here and say, as we are celebrating our fathers, as we are celebrating the history, we need to know that knowing your roots, knowing the history, knowing the stem, knowing the branches, knowing the leaves, knowing fruit is necessary, because you can't talk fruits without talking a tree. You can't talk fruits without talking a plant. You can't talk leaves without talking a plant. So when you talk about anything, you need to know what it is, what it holds, what it entails, where it comes from, and possible consequences. Because history provides us with basics. History provides us with rich knowledge. It is said that God says his people, or people, not his people, people perish because of lack of knowledge. So there are different ways of providing knowledge. As we are living in enlightenment, let us help each other to know. It is not knowledge only that helps, because you may know but not practicing anything. We say we don't know what one knows until that person shows what he or she knows through behavior. Yes, there are some people that can tap into some people's minds and spirits and identify what those people know. It's not everyone though. Even if you know what they know by tapping into their minds or spirits, it is not necessary to tell them what they know, because they know that already. Let me not expand that. That may be interpreted the way I didn't intend. Let me say shalom.